And it is a classic dodge to pretend that the other property you're selling is your primary residence while your partner supposedly lives there, and you're leading parallel lives. It's a load of nonsense, and the British public knows it. When you're proposing ever higher taxes, preaching fairness, and claiming to champion the working class, but you're using clever accounting tricks to avoid paying your share, do you honestly think that lands well with voters? The hypocrisy is glaring, and people are tired of being treated like fools. Angela Rayner, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, found herself caught in a storm of accusations during a heated TV debate with journalist Isabel Oakeshott. The confrontation became the talk of the nation, with Oakeshott delivering blow after blow, exposing what many see as Labour's failure to practice what they preach. At the heart of the clash was a bombshell revelation: 5 out of 7 new homes in the UK are reportedly being allocated to migrants. This statistic, shocking as it is, was met by Rayner with visible discomfort and clumsy attempts to deflect, a reaction that said more than words ever could. Oakeshott didn't just stop there. She questioned Labour's broader housing policies, tearing apart the promises that Labour has been touting for years. Take the £1 billion pledge to double the number of council houses built annually. On the surface, it sounds promising, but when you dig into the details, it becomes painfully clear that it's tokenistic. The scale of the housing crisis in Britain dwarfs Labour's proposals. With 1.2 million households on council housing waiting lists and over 280,000 people homeless, Labour's plan is like trying to put out a raging inferno with a garden hose. The Johnsons, a family of 4 crammed into a single-bedroom flat in Manchester, are just one example of the millions struggling under this broken system. They've been on the council housing waiting list for years, and their hopes of securing a proper home are fading fast. Meanwhile, Oakeshott's investigation revealed an uncomfortable truth: many of the newly built homes aren't going to families like the Johnsons. Instead, they're being allocated to individuals in full-time employment, some even driving luxury cars. This raises serious questions about fairness and accountability in housing policy. And then there's Rayner's own credibility, or lack thereof. Oakeshott didn't miss a beat, raising allegations about Rayner's possible tax avoidance through questionable property arrangements. While avoiding tax isn't illegal, it's certainly not a good look for someone who claims to stand for fairness and equality. It reeks of double standards, and the public sees right through it. If Rayner revealed the details of her financial arrangements, it might clear the air, but it could also confirm suspicions that she's been bending the rules for her own benefit. As Oakeshott pointed out, Labour's leadership seems more interested in taxing others than paying their own fair share. The fallout from this fiery exchange wasn't limited to housing. Oakeshott masterfully connected the dots between Labour's housing policies, their stance on immigration, and their broader economic failures. She exposed a pattern of mismanagement and broken promises that extends far beyond council estates and property taxes. Labour's focus on policies that appear to prioritise migrants over long-term residents has created a sense of betrayal among voters who feel abandoned by the party that once claimed to represent them. The number, 5 out of 7 new homes going to migrants, has struck a nerve. It's not just about housing, it's about the perception that Labour is out of touch with the struggles of everyday Britons. Families like the Johnsons are left to fend for themselves while Labour's grand promises remain just that, promises. Rayner's inability to provide a coherent response during the debate only added fuel to the fire. Her vague assurances and awkward deflections did little to reassure viewers that Labour has a plan to address the housing crisis. This wasn't just a bad night for Angela Rayner, it was a bad night for Labour as a whole. Oakeshott's relentless questioning laid bare the gap between Labour's rhetoric and reality. The party's promises of fairness, equality, and transparency are starting to sound hollow, and their inability to deliver on key issues like housing is eroding trust in their leadership. The public is tired of political spin. They want real solutions, and Labour's failure to provide them is becoming impossible to ignore. The implications of this debate go far beyond housing policy. It's a wake-up call for Labour and a stark reminder that voters are paying attention. The party's leadership needs to take a hard look at themselves and ask whether they're really delivering for the people they claim to represent. If they continue down this path of broken promises and misplaced priorities, they risk alienating the very voters they need to win the next election. As the dust settles on this explosive confrontation, one thing is clear: Labour has an uphill battle ahead. Oakeshott's investigation has shone a glaring spotlight on their failures, and the public is demanding answers. Can Labour rise to the challenge and prove that they're capable of governing effectively? Or will this be the beginning of a deeper crisis for the party? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: the British people won't be fooled by empty promises and political theatre. They want action, and they want it now. The housing crisis is just one piece of the puzzle. Labour's mismanagement extends to other areas of public policy, from healthcare to education to the economy. The party's inability to deliver on their promises is creating a sense of disillusionment among voters. And while Rayner and her colleagues may try to deflect and distract, the cracks in their facade are becoming impossible to ignore. Oakeshott's investigation has done more than expose Labour's failings. It sparked a national conversation about accountability and leadership. The public is tired of being taken for granted. They want politicians who will fight for them, not just for their own self-interest. If Labour can't rise to the occasion, they may find themselves losing the trust of the very people they claim to champion.